a.m. Eastern, so right on time. So, what's going on, Cody? How was your weekend, man?
Weekend was good. Got an appraisal for a property we're refinancing and should have another appraisal back for the other property we're refinancing in 2 to 3 days. So getting there, making progress.
All right. Well, at the end, maybe we can dig into a little bit on that because there was some people on the call this morning in school talking about some appraisals they got back, but we can maybe compare some things. But like I said, I like to go over a lot of the videos you come out with Tuesday, Thursday on your channel because you keep them a little bit shorter. So I always like to dig in a little bit deeper on them. So you did have one talking about a strategy that's kind of overlooked and no one talks about that. It's kind of like your favorite strategy, maybe. So maybe touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, the one I talked about, and I actually posted that on Saturday. I'm going to post the Zuber video that was supposed to go on Saturday. Next Saturday, I'm trying to get ahead of schedule again. So that was land assemblages. And the idea is if you want to have control of a neighborhood so that you don't have to deal with bad tenants, or if you have bad tenants, you can get rid of them. You can't get rid of a tenant if it's not your tenant. So the only way to do that is to buy up the neighborhood. And so the land assemblage play is I buy a 12plex, then I buy the 15 next to it, then I buy the 5, then the storage is next to that. I buy those, I buy the vacant land, and I put together basically a single ownership of a whole bunch of properties that's never been done before. And that creates future uses that couldn't be done before. If I own the 12 and you own the 15, and then someone, Flavio, owns the land next to it, we would all have to collaborate to do a big development and then go into partnership. That's hard to do with different entities and different ownership groups. So what I'm doing is one by one, if an opportunity comes up, even if it's a little more than I want to pay, I buy the adjacent properties and I start to assemble a bigger parcel of land than I had before, than anyone else has had before. So I'm doing that in Moses Lake right now. And I've got 2 of the 3 apartment buildings on the street. Then it'll be the land, then it'll be the commercial, the storage, the mixed use. And eventually, if I put it all together, I'll own multiple acres of adjacent land that no one else has ever owned before in any single ownership. It's never been one owner owns more than one of them. So I'm already ahead, but trying to build that assemblage up so that the future land uses can be potentially changed.
Definitely go check that out on Cody's channel. He's also streaming right now. But yeah, I got a chance to listen to it, and I think this is not something. I mean, it's a new video for your channel, but it's not something new in your thought process, right? So you kind of even touched on that, where a lot of people read Rich Dad Poor Dad, got a lot of takeaways from it, but that's kind of where it actually started for you, right?
Right. Yeah. And this is something I've wanted to do for years since I got started. There's a property I'm working on buying that's next to my very first property. And if I can do that, I'll basically own a whole block of apartments, like corner to corner. And that's pretty cool. No one's ever done that in that market either for Quincy. So, yeah, I'm definitely working on it. I've been working on it for a long time. That other owner, I'm working on putting a deal together. It's not done. So, it's not done until it's done. But I first started reaching out to them right after I bought my 12 unit. So it's been 7 years of outreach to try and gather interest and show them I'm committed. And I think we're finally going to put a deal under contract next month. We'll see. But yeah, I'm trying to do this in every market that I'm in.
So I know, like you said, you kind of got this idea way back from Rich Dad Poor Dad, so the vision was already there in place. But do you think this play is a lot about patience, though, that goes into it?
It definitely is. It took me 5 years to get my first land assemblage deal done. So, like where I bought a 12, then I bought the adjacent 15. And it's probably going to be another year till I get the last apartment building right next to that. But then no one else will own apartments in that pocket of Moses Lake. So that's it takes time. 5 years in between deals is a long time, and from start to finish, it'll be 6 or 7 years from that that first purchase in Moses to where I finally finished the assemblage. But it could go farther. There's a motel. It's like 45 units that's adjacent to those apartments as well. So if I wanted to branch out, that's on a couple acres. I could go do that as well and expand the assemblage. It's just that would probably take a couple years as well. It's definitely a patience game. Unless you're willing to deliberately overpay, then you can do it really quickly. But that's probably not the best strategy.
So Hyder brings up a good point, and maybe you can also dig into some of the things you touched on the video about some of the positives or the reasons why you're looking to do this. But he says Cody sounds like he's setting himself up for a very strong HOA covenant. The only ones that hate HOAs are those on the wrong end of them. Write your own, and you're the creme de la creme. Is that kind of the thought process also a little bit, maybe?
Well, that's part of it. Like I want to control the neighborhood. Like if you're gonna have all your eggs in one basket, watch the basket. So I want to be able to protect it. But also, the bigger I get, so if it goes from example 12 unit, I had a 15, now I'm at 27. If I could add another one and be at 50 and then 80, like if you could keep expanding out, which you can in certain markets, eventually the cap rate starts to go down because it's big enough, it's stable enough that you start playing with different investors that expect a little bit lower returns for more units. So you can actually push your value up just by adding more. So if maybe the same NOI amount would just be worth more to a different person because it's a big enough metric for them. Instead of buying a fourplex, you're buying 40 unit. The cap rate's probably a little bit lower on the 40 unit. So that's the overall thought. If I could just keep adding more and more, then I can boost the value over time and get more economies of scale, lower the expenses as a percentage, and then sell for a premium or refinance for a premium or just have more net cash flow.
Like I said, some other takeaways from the video. It's not just maybe the value, I guess, is the benefits you're looking to get out of it. It's also where, like you say, more control, and you're not having to maybe deal with other ownerships in the area. Is that kind of a takeaway from the video?
Yeah. So when I bought the 12 plex, it was the second purchase I ever made. It was a terrible building. It had some good tenants, but as a whole, like there was people that were shooting up drugs and overdosing, leaving needles everywhere. Like that's not a good environment. You don't want to be around that. So I bought that building and I fixed it up and I got majority of that out over the course of a few years. And now it's pretty stable. And it's a nicer building, nicer tenants. I still have a few of the original tenants, which is cool. But then across the street, the other building, still doing drugs, still shooting up, having issues. So I bought that one. And I get to make sure that I place the tenants, that I'm not placing those types of tenants that could bring down the whole neighborhood. Because the problem is if you have drugs over there, now the good tenants leave your building. So yeah, trying to get control, get rid of the risks to my retirement. Because someday these properties will be paid off and like it will be the retirement. And if I have druggies over there, because I can't kick them out, I can report to the cops, but they can't do anything. Not for that. So my retirement would suffer and I don't want that.
I think you even talked about somewhat of a vision or plan that it could be helpful with affordable housing. Because you kind of control the rents in the area to some extent.
Well, so the thought on affordable housing, because there's people out there that say, oh, you own more than you should. Probably nobody needs 100 apartments. But here's the difference. If I own 32 units in one location rather than just owning the 12, I can get my expenses as a percentage of the total income to be lower because I can have one maintenance person for 32 rather than 12. And I can start implementing things to keep the overall operational cost down. And so, one person to mow the lawns is going to be a little bit cheaper than just hiring that person to drive out and mow just the 12. Like they can mow both at the same time, less fuel costs. I don't have to charge as high of a rent People think that stuff doesn't add up, but it does. Like the little things add up. And so if I can get my operational costs down, I don't have to charge as much. I just did this at another property I own. I rented out RV spots that were previously not rented. Now people say, well, that's not a land assemblage play. It already was on the land, but I'm increasing the density of what I could have done before. So renting out the RV spots allowed me to charge less rent for the other property that was already there. And so if I can get the expenses down expressed as a percentage by getting more income in one location, then I can charge less rent. I don't have to get a market premium. The people that have to get a market premium are the ones that are getting into the market using a lot of debt and don't have economies of scale. So that's the idea behind the land assemblage play for affordable housing.
I think the hard part, even for myself, just to wrap my head around it is, so let's say you're getting your first property.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something you're already thinking about? In your case, you were, it seems like, but for someone just getting in, is this something that, I mean, if this is their goal, I guess, in a sense, is this something they're already thinking about from the beginning?
Well, it wasn't like the very first day on my 12 I was like, I need to go buy that. I was thinking it'd be cool to own the neighboring properties. Where this really clicked for me is when I bought my second 12-plex in Moses Lake. And I looked across the street and it was basically like you got my side of the street and then you got the waterfront side of the street. And their building was uh, a comparable quality, but it had the water. So I was like, man, I need to own that because then I can own both sides. That would be cool. That's where it really started to kick in. So it's not necessarily going to be on your first purchase, but it also depends
No.
what you're buying. Because if you're buying a single family house in a neighborhood of 30 houses, like it may not be your desire to own all 30 of those houses. For me, there's 3 apartment buildings in my neighborhood. I own 1/3 of them. I should try and figure out how to get the other 2/3.
And I know you've probably touched on this on other live streams you've done, but so how do you now, I guess, you approach the owners of these other areas or properties early on, or more when you're like, so how does that process go for you?
Yeah, it's still an owner meeting. Granted, in my market, I know most of the owners. So right now I'm looking at branching out into Ellensburg. I just went under contract on a building over there. And there's a few apartment buildings over there that are similar, if not bigger sizes. And so assuming feasibility goes well and I put the money together to pick that up, then yeah, that's going to be my next series of events. It's going to be the owner calls, hey, I'm the new guy in town. I saw we're property neighbors. Curious if you'd be open to grabbing coffee. And I'm going to have to restart the whole process. And that might take a couple of years, depending on where they're at in their investment cycle. Could go faster. But yeah, I want to build these land assemblages, and it just comes down to owner relations.
Chris Webb says, yes, if you own more supply, costs fall, and to remain competitive, prices charged fall. This is why production is a key part of economics. Increases supply, lowers prices. Yep.
And that's the flaw in people's argument that you shouldn't buy more. Because if you don't buy more, you can't afford to lower price. You have just enough. So you have to get exactly what you're getting on your rental just to make it worth the risk of taking on all the debt. So more is a solution for that.
Yeah. I mean, even with not with this land assemblage play, but even if someone who has a bigger portfolio, right? I mean, I think that's someone's, when they first get in, that is one of the biggest things is they're always trying to get the most amount of rent because they only have 1 or 2 properties and they're trying to maximize that property. And then as you start scaling, you start looking for better tenants that are going to stay 5 to 10 years. So your rents are going to be below market rent because you just want a good tenant that's not, putting in a lot of complaints maybe, and then they're going to stay there for 7 to 10 years, right? So
Yeah, and I see that on my stuff. On my new construction, I might sacrifice on some of the tenant quality for placement to get a premium rent in the beginning, because new construction is really hard to cash flow. It's difficult, especially because I did it with 7% down. Like I did super high leverage seller financing. So for a few years, yeah, I might have to sacrifice on the quality, occasionally on placements. But if I can get more of those, because there's a whole bunch of 7-plexes next door, and I'm building a bunch of them right now, as I can scale that up, I don't need to get 1900 when market rent's 1900. I could try and push it down to 1795 and get better long-term placements.
Now, I guess another part where people might get what might stall this thought process is, you know, Zuber talks a lot about the buy box, right? Having a buy box for your type of property you're looking for. So, what happens if this building or asset classes that are in this area for the land assemblage doesn't fit your buy box, right? So how does that thought process go?
Well, if you haven't hit financial freedom or you don't have enough properties to hit financial freedom for whatever your goal is, then you probably shouldn't branch out from your buy box. But you figure by the time I bought my first land assemblage deal, I had over 100 rentals. I built the business with my buy box first. Before I ever bought my first hotel, I had enough apartments to where if I just chilled out, I could definitely retire by retirement age. Like there, I built the business first. So to Zuber's credit, build the buy box and stick to it till you get your number. And then if you want to do this, go for it. But don't build a land assemblage outside of your business model just to do it. That'd be silly. I'm doing it because it's going to make my life easier. But if I had done that right away, I might have crumbled. So you have to be very smart, and you have to be focused on your goal. If it moves you closer to your goal, great. If it moves you further away from your goal, don't do it.
And I also got kind of the end part of that video that you have on your channel. At the end, the kind of takeaway was you kind of said it's like a game almost, like where
Mm-hmm.
you're at in your journey. Like you're saying, right? If I just did certain things, I'd be financially free, and this would be my life, and I'd be good. But I almost get the feeling like that this is, like I said, you have this mad scientist brain to you, where you're always seeing the opportunities and you're always kind of striving for more, and that's why, like you say, it's kind of a game a little bit to you, right?
It is, and it can be for everybody. I think we learn best through games. I resonate with Kiyosaki's idea on that. Like if you want to have fun, play a game. So play a game that you can learn from, and this is definitely a game that I'm always learning from. And it makes the experience more enjoyable in the first 10 years of suck. And we say 5, but there are still days that really suck, and I'm only on year 7. So I'm sure after another 3, it'll be better, but you got to enjoy it along the way.
What would be, let's say, what is the biggest risk though with land assemblage?
While you're concentrating your whole portfolio into one location, if you can only figure out how to do it in one spot. So, if you put all your eggs in one basket, if you have a rotten basket, all of a sudden you know, you're tough luck. Like it's not going to go so well. And I've seen people do that where they build this big portfolio in bad locations, and then you make your bed, you lay in it. So if you make a mistake, it can be really hard to sell out of 100 units if you have a whole bunch of side by side 10plexes than if you just had one 10plex. It's easier to cut your losses on the small stuff. So you gotta be careful, know your location. My first land assemblage, the area was super ghetto, and I knew that going into it. But my thought was, I'm going to clean up this whole area, and it's starting to happen. It took half
I'm,
a decade.
I'm always thinking of like the movies though, where there's like that one owner that's always holding out, and they're trying to buy up the whole block, and there's that one owner that's just like refusing to sell, right? So that's what's always in my head.
Could happen. Yeah, I mean, it might. Then you just got to go do it somewhere else, or be happy with what you got. If I don't get the last apartment building in my neighborhood, then so be it. Like what I have, unit count wise, I have 80% of the total units in that area. So the last one's the smaller one. I really want it. Really want it. I met with the owner for an hour 2 days ago. But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
That's when you call in Yasik to have a talk to that owner and then see if you
Nah.
can convince it. Harrison is asking, Cody, are you planning on buying local trade businesses to maintain your properties and have a foot in the door with other owners in town?
I wouldn't buy one. I'd probably start one, if anything. Problem is, I've seen people buy businesses locally from folks, and then they run it incorrectly because they didn't learn the lessons of starting one. Yes, financially, it makes more sense to just go buy one that's already making money, but if you don't learn the lessons along the way, you lose it. So you can lose it. There was a person who bought a business locally, and their business is about to crumble in the next few months. They spent a lot of money on it too, so it's a shame.
Hyder looks like he's referring. It says "There Will Be Blood" is the movie he's talking about. So I guess maybe that's similar to what we're talking about. Um, do you think investors underestimate the power of location concentration?
Yeah, I've gotten a lot of opportunities because I only buy in one location. Built up a lot of credibility for buying from owners, from connecting with brokers, like having the credibility of, hey, if he puts an offer on it, he's going to close, has helped me quite a bit. I've done that just one by one, year after year, closed a few deals. It's been very beneficial just owning in one area. I mean, I have a property that's 300 miles from where I live. She always likes to join.
Hey,
Yeah, but I have a property 300 miles from where I live, and I self-manage that. But other than that, just about everything is here.
so part of I think your title was the most what overlooked. I think it was. Was it overlooked strategy or your favorite strategy?
It was
Right.
just my favorite strategy. Yeah, and that was one of my better videos recently. It has 100 and something views, which is kind of cool.
Why do you think maybe you don't hear as many people talking about? I don't hear a lot of people talking about this strategy too much.
Mm, it's not as interesting, not as flashy. So people talk about unit count, which is cool, whether that's for storage or for residential, or they talk about their total gross rent or their total NOI. But land assemblages are it's just kind of an extra thing. Like it's not necessary to retire, so it's not talked about as much. But it sure is a cool strategy. I really enjoy it, and it is. There's something interesting about driving through the neighborhood and like whether it's with an appraiser or with a buddy or talking with other owners. They're like, "Oh, you own this building right here?" And I'm like, "Yep," and that one over there, and working on that one right there. So it's really cool to own the whole neighborhood, and that's not necessary at all. It's another step for controlling your portfolio. Some people like to own stuff spread out. I don't. I want to own everything right next to each other. I think it's just the ease factor for me. Is like I just have to make sure one location doesn't go down. But again, not necessary for anybody to do that. So it doesn't have to be talked about.
Let's see. How long do you think this long-term or this total play might actually play out for you? Like I know you said you're in the process of it. What would be your runway, you think? I mean, just roughly.
For the next apartment deal in that location or what?
Well, just to maybe complete your whole land assemblage of this area you're thinking of getting.
Well, I hope that one's done this year. I'm pushing for it. So if I can get it done this year, that'd be sweet. And that one's going to be seller finance. The guy actually wants to look at donating the seller finance note. So we'll see. But trying to get that one done this year. There's one other land assemblage, the one in Quincy, trying to get that wrapped up this year. Other than that, the only other one's Marina Drive townhomes. And for anybody who wants to move to Moses Lake, I've been talking with some people. I have them available. We'll have more available. Marina Shore Villas. But that land assemblage will probably take a decade. And that'll be about 200.
Dang. Um, James Hillis says, remove the bad apples from the basket and the fruit lasts longer. Hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and all of the properties in my current assemblage were bad apples, by the way. So I found the magical cure to reverse the aging process of apples, I suppose.
Hey, Andy's here, Lane 5. He was a little upset, I guess, because I said I didn't see any new videos from him recently, and he sent me a link right after that. He did post one. So go check out Andy's channel, Lane 5, talking about fitness, real estate. I think he said biohacking too was the most recent video. Hey, Christina Gilbert, haven't seen you here before. Please go subscribe and like. Also, Cody is streaming live on his channel also too, so you can go subscribe and follow him over there. But yeah, I mean that's all I really got on the land. I because I don't hear too many people talking about it. I definitely it's very cool. Like you said, it's how you're having. I think you just have fun doing it, right? Like you, that's the way your mind works, right? You're it's like you said, it's a game, but you're learning from it and you're just enjoying it. So I definitely see that as a hopefully, like you said, hopefully that one finishes up soon. You have another one maybe 10 years down the road, but you're also getting your mortgage. How's that going? The mortgage license, right? Did you
Good.
complete
It'll
that?
likely, yeah, we'll likely hang the license with coast to coast mortgage. So we'll see. I got a buddy there that I'd work with, and so that'd be cool. He and I have owned real estate for years. He's got some residential stuff. I've got some apartments with him, and so working on that right now. That'll probably be a this week task.
Well, when that comes out, everyone, you can always reach out to Cody, get to have him look over some rates and maybe get some ideas. I believe there's also who just messaged me. Oh, Cameron from school. He's also, I think, going down that path, getting his mortgage license. So he's going to do that. So that's going to be cool. So we're going to have more people in the community being able to service people. Um, Charles says Ray Allen has a video for you. Blame my wife. Okay, I'll take a look out after. um, there was shoot. What I was gonna bring something up to you. The mortgage. Oh, like you said, you touched off the beginning of the live stream with your appraisal. So did you say you got one back already, or you're waiting to?
Yeah, I got one back. I have another coming back this week, and I had an appraisal. Also, I've basically been refinancing a property a month. That's been my life for the last 6 months. So my residential appraisals have been coming in low across the board for both properties I've sold and properties I've held. And that's been frustrating. Like example, rather than coming in around 350, it's 325, or rather than 330, it comes in at 295. There's a property I sold to a buddy and easily easily could have proven the value of 260. They came in at the contract price of 235, the PSA price, which I don't even know if they're supposed to see that, but somehow magically they just come in right at the PSA price. So I guess they're just trying to be conservative and not take on more risk than they have to. But it's like if you do a good job and support your value, you should be able to find the true value. So my residential appraisals, both for clients and myself, have been coming in lower than they should by 5 to 10% per appraisal. And my commercial stuff, while the appraisals are lower than they used to be, they're where they should be. So it seems like commercial's still pretty accurate.
Hmm. Yeah, the individual that jumped on the school call this morning, I guess the appraisal came in the same as the appraisal when he purchased it, and it was the same appraiser supposedly. And I guess the individual did probably maybe 30K of work on the property, but yet
Mm-hmm.
the appraisal came in exactly the same as when he purchased it. So he was just kind of confused and frustrated at it. And yeah, but I that's what it sounds like you're saying too. A lot of residential stuff seems to be coming in soft. Have you ever contested any appraisals?
I have in the past, and sometimes you get adjustments, but not super often.
Okay.
Sometimes there's like, I did the work. This is where it is. Take it.
Stephen P asks, Dion talks about diversification about property locations. How do you protect yourself if you're doing the assemblage?
Offer a better value So you got to pick what location you're buying in. Like I'm not buying into war zones. I've definitely bought. I bought a property that was taken over by a gang. That took some creativity and time to clear out safely. But if you're picking an okay location where you can feel safe to go up to, provide a better value than the other neighborhoods around, and as long as you provide more value than your price, I'm not too worried about it. If you let it get taken over by a gang, maybe people aren't going to want to live there. But if you do quality control to some extent of your property, I'd rather have 30 units in one location than 30 houses spread out. Personally, that's my buy box. I'd rather have three 10-plexes side by side than three 10-plexes scattered out amongst different neighborhoods in Moses Lake. And I've done that before too, where I've had properties that size that are all over the place. I'd much rather have the units in one location. So for me, it's less risky to do that. For you, you may not feel the same.
Harrison is asking Cody, because of your concentration of ownership, is there anything you do to build the area up for additional income?
Yeah, once you own the whole neighborhood, curb appeal. So now that I own the neighborhood, like asphalting the driveway is a big one. I didn't do this until after I got both properties, but I bought big, nice signs for the property. The signs were like $4,000 a piece. They're nice. They're branded for the property. They're tied to the website. Like that's branding. After you make it nice, is everything. Just adding little things like dog stations with the poo bags and the trash can, stuff like that. I added a patio with seating outside, converting the storage to bedrooms, like things like that, optimizing the property after you control the neighborhood. But the thing you have to be careful about is if I go make property A way too nice, they're going to want more money for property B. So you can't over improve something until you control it. Otherwise, the neighbor's like, well, my neighborhood's nicer. It used to be a slum, but now it's quite nice. So you kind of have to phase it. But you also don't want to be a slumlord for super long just to get the neighboring property for cheap. It's a balance.
Ike says, I've got three of my small multifamily on the same block. Kept one of the garages for my stuff. Makes it super easy to see what's going on in the neighborhood and keep track of stuff. Yeah. Hyder said, I think Dion is trying to avoid issues like Flint, Michigan had with their water affecting entire areas. Yeah, so I think that's what they're referring to as far as you being concentrated in maybe one location, as where something like that could happen, or maybe there's a Costco that is the employment, for that area, and something
Yeah.
like that.
If Moses Lake goes down, I'm going to be starting over. Just to be clear, like if Moses Lake goes away completely, yeah, I'm toast. But I also built a bigger portfolio than average in the course of 7 years. So it would have been much harder to do what I did if I was taking those things into account. Of I need to spread out, need some in Tacoma, some in. I'm glad I didn't buy in Tacoma. That would have sucked. But Tacoma, Renton, Lakewood, Moses Lake, Spokane. If I had done that, it would have been hard to build the same size portfolio with the pieces I had. So yeah, I'm exposed to that right now, but I don't believe that Moses Lake will go away completely ever. I don't see that.
Ike Hobbs also follows up with saying, I also allowed me to lock out two units with druggies, and according to county taxes, doubled the value of those places. Okay. From your channel, let's see, Michael's Life Cycle. Thanks for stopping by. It says, and true value is not current value, but the present value of future cash flows discounted at an appropriate rate.
Yeah, that's true. So I bought a property for 1,300,000 that was worth 1,000,000. Today it's worth a little north of 1,500,000. But the thing is, to Mark, it's probably worth $7 in a bag of chips because he doesn't own in Moses Lake. So like what is the value, right? I mean, it's what it gives you. I'm happy with my properties because now they cash flow and they give me control of the neighborhood. And if I have an issue, I can address it. But the value to someone else may not be the true value to the operator.
Flavio says, "Have you seen any price cut in your market? Here is going down."
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. You want to sell when it's going up. When I sold out of my first company, I sold on the up because even if it keeps going up, people pay more on a pro forma than they will on a stabilized asset. If they believe they can do it better, they'll pay more than they should. So when I sell stuff, I try and sell when the market's going up. If I have to sell the transfer, like I was looking at selling a building to Flavio, he wanted to pay less, and then I was willing to accept, but that offer might have been more 2 years ago because the market was still going up, and people buy a lot of times, which you shouldn't, but people buy on hype, and so I sold some buildings for more than I probably could have now uh, because the market was continuing to go up and renting was easy. Right now, it's a little bit more difficult. It's definitely had to cut back, and so where something might have been worth $1,450,000, now it's worth $1,350,000.
Um, Hyder says, "Do we need an appraiser union of good appraisers that don't shortchange us?" Flavio follows up with saying, "The marina apartments are nice comparing to how it was."
A lot better than they were. It took hundreds of thousands of dollars, but another couple $100,000 and it'll be done.
James Hillis says, "There is an investor here that works with business owners to start coffee shops, restaurants, or groceries next to his neighborhoods he is in." So wait, the appraiser I want to talk to you about. Another thing too I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you saw, but I guess apparently people aren't too interested maybe in Zuber's third book. Because the viewership on that one was like it was like under 100 the last time I looked
You
on
should
his
still
vid.
do it.
Yeah, no, yeah, but I was so shocked that like when I looked and because I go through all the comments on that video, I don't know why it didn't get pushed out maybe or what, but the viewership was like at like 100. I was like, man, that's weird. But
Yeah, you should still do it anyway.
yeah, oh no, yeah, I'm sure I think it's going to be a good book, but it was just weird that no one really watched that video. Hey, Josh is here. Saw Josh and Hyder both on the accountability call this morning. Yeah, I don't know. You got anything else on the land assemblies? Like I said, I mean, I think hopefully people maybe I think a lot of people in the community are more in that beginning phase, but don't ever, you know, not think about it. Like you said, it could be beneficial for a lot of people.
Yeah, I would say don't do it before you're ready. There was some vacant land, and Flavio saw this when we hung out because Flavio drove all the way over, a couple hours just to come say hey, and we toured the portfolio. So there was some land just to the left of my apartments, 3 parcels. Vacant land would have been perfect for storage. I had it under contract a few years ago for 70,000. It was seller finance, 35,000 down, 3-year payoff, and it was like $1,000 a month. There wasn't even a lot of interest. It was very little interest, so it was basically a direct payoff. And could have bought it. I was not ready, and would I have figured it out? I would have, but it would have and could have stressed my apartment portfolio if I had done that. And so that wasn't worth it. It would have been cool for the goal because then I would have owned all the properties there, but it would have stressed what I had built and jeopardized what I was building. So just don't do it too soon.
Curtis, PE turned RE, who just came out with a great video. I don't know if he knew this person from before school, but it's a new school member. He has a video. Oh, shoot, what did I say? I think that person was investing from Jamaica, I believe what it was. But go
Cool.
check out Curtis. I think it said 9 units in 3 years or something.
Wow.
Um, but Curtis is asking, do you tell the owners you're trying to do an assemblage?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I start the call that way. I say, hey, I'm your property neighbor. I don't have to straight up say that I'm trying to do an assemblage, but what I told these folks is I have a dream of like putting these together. I'd love to own that one. You built this bigger portfolio. I have this 12 unit. You got a 15 unit, and I think it's really cool that you've built the portfolio that you have. How did you get started? And so I introed my calls with work property neighbors. That tells them off the bat that I know that they know that we're side by side.
So what's the biggest lesson you've learned so far pursuing this strategy?
Takes longer than you'd like. Yeah. And when you get the opportunity, you have to make a decision quickly. You have to really underwrite the numbers. I had the opportunity to buy my 15 unit for 900,000, and I kicked the can a little bit, and I wasn't sure on the value, and I didn't really put a whole lot of time to underwrite it. I could have bought it for 900,000 with 90,000 down. A couple years after that, I bought it for 1.3 million with 100,000 down. I didn't make a decision quickly enough, and I tried to negotiate, and it worked. It could have and should have worked at that other price. I ended up paying more with higher interest. Everything was against my favor waiting, but if you're going to do it, you got to do it. You got to play the game to play the game is the bottom line.
Uh, Josh Burdick said Cody's assemblage video resonated with him. We purchased an adjoining property to our business property to potentially market the whole thing on exit. I think that's maybe not everyone is thinking of uh, land assemblage, but
Mm-hmm.
I think to your point though, right? Like just concentrating, whether it's one market, one strategy, and that kind of goes back to the whole, bald guy and Zuber and that, right? This individual was scattered among different markets, different strategies, and that's probably what was holding him back or failing in his plans, right? So not doesn't have to be to the whole extent like you're saying, the own the whole block kind of thing, but just even focusing on whether it's one zip code, one buy box, one market, and there's so much power to that.
Yeah, and again, get your freedom before you go try and just play a game. That's one of the reasons I backed out of the land. I was worried that that was going to jeopardize the freedom that I was building, so I didn't buy the neighboring land. When now it'd probably be 150 grand to buy it, it would be a better deal for me to buy it for double the price than to have risked it back then.
Harrison's asking, what type of properties do you have require the least amount of work by percentage for you?
Mm, probably my brand new townhomes, the brand new stuff. But that's not fair because it's also 2.5 times the price so as the old stuff. So yeah, I mean I like the townhomes. Other than that, my single level well, actually my easiest property to manage is my Quincy property. That's 2-story walk up. It's 2 quads and a 5-plex on one lot. That one is awesome because I've redone majority of the plumbing. I redid the electrical panels. I redid the heaters. I redid the bathrooms. Like it's done for the most part. So the fully renovated ones are the least amount of work. Imagine that.
Victor, who has a big project going also in his portfolio, says fear, one of the worst enemies. Yeah, totally agree. Hyder says he played Cody's video on the TV where I cannot leave comments. He said he'll go back and comment for the algorithm.
Awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, folks, those of you that watch and everything, just, leave a comment. It helps with the algorithm. Whether it's, that's why you probably see me quite a bit. I'll just do the aloha from Hawaii, but it definitely helps, right? So just like and then, leave a comment, and especially if you watch it. I mean, yeah, man, that's all I mean, anything else you want to touch on before we wrap? Are you still doing the Wednesdays with Canberra, Justin Canberra live?
It seems like we need to pick a different day because it always, always ends up not working out. So last few weeks we've been on and off.
Well, so stay on the lookout. Cody and Justin have been trying to live stream on Wednesdays at 8 a.m. Pacific. So stay on the lookout for that. He usually records with Zuber on Mondays, Tuesday, Thursdays. Videos on his channel does come out. And come and catch Cody on Saturdays at Gen Z Call. But yeah, man, I don't know. Anything else any other questions or anything else you want to touch on before we wrap things up?
I think we're all good.
All right. So you got an appraisal today or something, or another one coming up soon?
I have one that should come back this week, assuming that comes in where it should. It should. It's a commercial building. It's pretty predictable NOI. Then I'm going to refinance and lower my cost of capital from 7.25 to 5.95.
One other thing that was brought up, like I said, about that appraisal, one question that someone asked was, is that area kind of like a area where it's a smaller market where maybe it's harder to get comps? So like the market that you're investing in, would you say that is an area hard to get comps? Or
Definitely can be. There have been appraisals in the past where every single comp was a property I owned in a different entity for a residential. It was ridiculous. So, and there's like my buddies have bought properties, and every comp on the appraisal was a property I purchased. So yeah, it can be tough in a small market.
Michael from your channel, Michael's Life Cycle says, many times when it's time to buy, you won't want to. Sometimes the best opportunities come when the market is pessimistic and the property is unattractive. Yeah, very true. Flavio's asking before I wrap it. Flavio's asking, do you have a lot of complaints on the 2-story apartments from the bottom tenants?
No, I don't. That might just be by sheer luck, but I've owned that building the longest. It's my only 2-story walk-up apartment building, and I don't have any complaints thus far. So we'll hope it keeps going.
Well, like I said, it's always fun catching up with you. Like I said, your videos, I like that they're short so we can dig into them a little bit more to see what the thought process is. But always, everyone, go check out Cody's channel. Like I said, his video, well, this one was Saturday, right? But usually Tuesday and Thursday, he comes out with his videos. And then usually, and me and Cody go live on Mondays. And I'll be back tomorrow with Brandon Potts. And I think we're going to dig into active and passive investing because he definitely feels you need to be active, kind of ownership, look at it from the ownership side. And someone commented on one of our videos and disagreed with him. So we're going to see if that person is able to jump on with us. And that might be our topic for tomorrow's live stream. But I'll be back tomorrow, same time, everyone, and have a good day, everyone. Thanks.
Awesome.